A warm welcome to Rustenburg Film Festival.
And this year we are bigger, better and better.
But before we go any further, a word from our VIP.
Every filmmaker wants to screen at a festival and have an opportunity to experience audience react to their films and engage in Q&As. Jury members from various countries convene to rate the films in order to determine nominees and winners. I wish all films in competition the best.
Rustenburg Film Festival started far back as Bojanala Film Week.
And in 2020, it was rebranded to Rustenburg Film Festival.
And to date, we have over 1,000 filmmakers that have benefited from workshops and information sessions.
This year, Rustenburg Film Festival went into full screening mode, inviting filmmakers from all over the world to submit their stories.
This year, we received 453 film submissions from 33 countries. 55 films from 16 countries were selected.
Hamba uya esikoleni
The Rustenburg Film Festival was inspired by seeing a lot of graduates, especially in the Northwest province, not being able to access the industry, especially within our province. And then again, seeing a lot of people that were interested in the industry and could not afford going to film school and so forth. So we decided to build a platform where we can have all these filmmakers and wannabe filmmakers to come together and network and have access to the information pertaining the film industry.
As a festival, our key mandates are to develop filmmakers in Rustenburg and Northwest in general. We do this by programming workshops which are relevant to their times and getting very well experienced filmmakers to facilitate.
Another key mandate of the Rustenburg Film Festival is to promote. We promote talent through screening in various platforms, exposing the talented filmmakers to key industry players.
Our key mandate that happens organically at the festival is Connect. It is at this time where we bring broadcasters, funders, distributors, sellers, buyers, anybody who is important in the value chain under one roof. As a festival, we are grateful to the stakeholders that have been with us since the beginning. We are very excited to have retained some of them and really looking forward to be having more stakeholders on board so that we are able to reach out more to the people who really needs to be part of our journey.
Hello, 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 hellos.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. A good afternoon to the good people. How are you?
Good.
and
How are you?
Oh, man. Oh, it's such a stressful time this side. Yes, the festival is going on, and yeah, as you can imagine, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. How are you guys keeping? Busy, busy.
Good. Yes. Yes. Very. How are you guys doing?
No, well, we had very little sleep last night. You know, we had our opening night at about 10 o'clock. We went out after the screening. We are screening Dying for Gold. Have you seen it?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's a hectic documentary, very intense and heavy subject matter. But yeah, we made it through. We made it through.
Is the
Yeah.
screening online?
No. We were at Stekineko here in Waterfall Mall.
Okay.
Edward, you look like you're looking away from me. I think you are using the other camera and then you're
Yeah,
using.
my screen is here on the left side. On the left. And
We were feeling,
I'm
we were feeling
in the middle here.
We're
Mr.
feeling
G,
left.
can you please
Well,
send me?
I'll keep
Can
my
you
eye
please send
contact
me
into
an
the
email of
camera.
the link so that I can also
Okay.
try to access it from my my laptop because I'm using my phone now.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me do that whilst we continue. So tell me, guys, what's been happening? What are you busy with? My favorite music composers. Oh, yee.
Yeah, keeping busy. I'm busy with music for a film called Mense van Event. And
Yeah.
yeah, just like a few ads and stuff. Finished off a Pick and Pay ad end of last week, and this week has pretty much just been the job for you, and then as well as the the Mense van Event.
Hi, you guys are busy. Hi. I wish I was as busy as you guys. Zethu, I know.
Sometimes you don't actually. You don't wish you were as busy as us because it's time away from family and
Yeah.
living, and mental health takes a knock being this
Yeah.
busy actually.
Is it?
so yes, it's become a thing. You brush it off as if no, it will never happen to me until you become this busy, and then you realize that now you have to consider the possibility and stuff. So it's actually quite scary.
You have to consider trying to find a way of becoming less busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also trying to it's finding the balance of not like pushing yourself out of the market also.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's just like we're still at a phase where you get a project, and then 3 weeks after you've gotten the project, your dream project comes along, and it's like, yeah, let's postpone the mental health thing a bit later because I have to do both of these things, So, eh?
Sure, man. I can imagine. Those are nice life problems.
Yes. I have a thing about that statement. I think, like, the amount of problems that you actually have never changes.
Yeah.
They just change form.
They just change form.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't. It never really changes. It doesn't get better. They just change form. You like start to deal with different problems, and so the people who are still dealing with the older problems think that I want to have your problems, but until they have your problems,
yeah.
and then it's like, I
And
was
then they
never
don't
prepared
want
for
them.
this.
Oh man. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us once again. So we are here. We are in what you call this place, this Kingsgate Hotel in Rustenburg. This is where the festival is happening. This is the principal venue. So
Oh, nice.
we're screening films at the Stekineko at the same time. So there's a program running there, And as I speak to you now in this session, we have a session running in one of the halls called Digital Cinematography with the Canon guys. And we're gonna having some screenings later on. So we're really trying to sort of uplift the filmmakers in Rustenburg by giving them as much information as we can in terms of filming. So thank you for taking your time out and share this knowledge. Hopefully there is a filmmaker who's going to be watching this session who is going to, this session is going to make a difference in their lives as a filmmaker into understanding music in film. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, so I have with me film composers extraordinaires, Zethu, Mashika. Sorry, I and we've got Edward, George, King. Oh man, you guys are always fabulous. It's always lovely chatting to you guys. I love your spirit, I love your energy, and I love your commitment to this cause. So let's talk. First, and I know you and I, and the both of you guys, we've been speaking a lot, but we have to imagine there's someone who is going to be watching this or who is watching this who haven't heard us talk before. So forgive me if I sound repetitive. It's in the best interest of the one who didn't catch the first one. It's like kind of like this is like episode 2, but we don't want to miss someone. So briefly about yourselves, Zethu, what's up? Or maybe I can start with George if you want to set yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to just get this thing going. It might cut me off. If it does, I'll be right back.
No problem. So let's start with you, George, whilst Zethu is setting himself up. What led you into film composing? Music.
Well, I've done music pretty much my whole life since I can remember. I think grade 1, I started with piano lessons and so on. And I've always had a great love for music. And when I was in grade 11 matric, I actually found an internet radio station that played a lot of film score music, and couldn't stop listening to the station, and just fell more and more in love with kind of the process and how it sounds, because it's very orchestral based music, but in a different way than classical and baroque and romantic music. It's it's storytelling music, and that's what really kind of captured me. And so I went to study film scoring, and now here I am doing it, and I really love it. I wouldn't see myself doing anything else than what I'm doing now.
Isn't that fabulous? I want to be like you when I grow up. Zethu. Oh man, you guys are fantastic. I really like that. And we all know how important music is really in film, and I guess that is why you guys are.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool.
I see another you there to make. I don't know. Should I add it to the stream? Do you want to use it for audio or what?
I'm just using it as an additional monitor here, so that I can see you guys better, because I don't want to stare too much on the phone when someone else is speaking. I'd like to actually see. So that's the only reason I've just got that set up here. But anyway.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh. What was the question again?
Oh no, there was no question. There was a question. Briefly about yourself. Yes, about yourself. What brought you into film music composing, and why do you think that's such important in film?
Okay, so what brought me into film composing was moving away from I think the growth of my growth in music was kind of infectious, and it kind of needed to expand further than just a 3-minute piece of music with a verse, a chorus, another verse, and a chorus, and another verse, and so on. And I think more than anything else, I wanted to be part of something a lot bigger and be able to communicate in a way which I really appreciate communicating in most without using words, which is what film scoring allows you to do. Being able to just like say everything that you need to say with just using instruments, and speaking to the subconscious, speaking to the subjective, speaking psychology, and speaking specifically or communicating specifically in a way where words and nothing else can actually get to, which is what music does. I mean, I think if you ask yourself, if you still don't know why music makes you feel the way you do, you still kind of don't know how it makes you feel the way you do, and you're still trying to figure out why are we the only beings in the universe that use music, and how did we discover it? How did it come about? How did we get to where we are now from in the evolutionary chain? And so I think these are most philosophical aspects of why I got into it. But it's coming from a producing / beat making background. It just seemed more compelling and more interesting to be part of a film than just to make tracks for yourself. I mean, it's there's a bigger purpose, and there's so much more to learn, and there's so much more that's required of you. And so, yeah, I think it's hard to say exactly when I started making music, because to making music with software, proper software and stuff that actually works, I would have said maybe I started in 2003. But, learning how, or teaching myself how to harmonize, teaching all aspects of music, and, being part of a choir and all of these things, I think are good foundations for me starting to make music in a sense. So how many years is that? That's like 18 years now, 19 years since 2003. Wow. What is that?
Yeah.
How many is that? 2000 making music. So joining film scoring took place
18.
It's 18 years. So from 2003 to 2009, I think it was a 6-year journey getting into film scoring and starting to discover and really get my teeth into it. So and then that's what, now 12 years? Yes, 12 years from 2009 to 2021 is, yeah, that's
I can see, right? How
I mean, that's what is that? That's 11, 12 years, 11 years.
That is what happens when you are very, very busy in life. Like, you lose track of time, and
completely.
It sounds like a joke, but you can totally be out of it.
Yeah, the only thing I know right now is that today's Sunday. Right?
You see? Yes. No, actually, it's not Sunday today. Today it's Saturday.
Yeah.
You missed it. So wrong.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, like, it's been that long, and it honestly still feels like we've just started, because every project is like that. Like, every blank page is a scary monster that you have to face at the beginning of every project.
Yeah.
And every time you're afraid that, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't think I'm good enough to do this project every single time. And then something happens in between, you get started, and then everything starts to flesh itself out. But before we get into that, I'm getting carried away. Yeah, music, I think, is important in that sense, is that it's very much part of the human experience in every sense. I think there's very few human beings that connect with music, and it's one trait that we really can say is uniquely ours. And we can really kind of question every other thing else, but music is one of those things that we sort of, from where we're standing with the known knowns and known unknowns, we kind of feel like we don't know any other beings that experience music the way we do. and so you can't exclude it in certain aspects, which is why it forms part of everything that we actually do.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. So let's get into it now. I want to first of all understand original score versus library music, particularly if you have to come up with a piece, like a film, and you have to score it. I know a lot of filmmakers, and that is why I'm raising this question, because I think I only used library music ever in my lifetime once, in my very, very first film. And from there, it's been original score. But from your perspective, what are the pros and cons of the two, original score versus library?
You first, Pat.
I'll start off with the king, His Majesty.
Yeah. Well, I think to do original score for a film or documentary or whatever the platform and production, it's going to give that production its own voice, versus library music. You kind of have to work around. It's more for the mood rather than actual kind of hitting certain marks and certain kind of emotional beats. Where I feel, when you score something, you can actually follow the whole progression of the story, the action, the emotion, and follow to a T, where it actually translates that piece of narrative so clearly in a musical form. Whereas library, I think you're always kind of stuck in a rut a bit, because this is what the piece is, and it's only really gonna set the mood and stuff. You can obviously edit on library music and so on, but I think that originality falls a bit away. And also, other people can use that piece of music. It's on a library, so unless you kind of buy it out exclusively, you might hear the piece of music on other productions or on other commercials and so on. So I think it just gives it its own voice, whereas with library music you won't necessarily get that type of result.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to log in with my phone quickly so I can also turn around and actually stare into the screen and see you guys, because at the moment I'm doing the screen and looking back.
You can do that. Too. For
Yeah,
you,
I think, that he's basically covered everything. Most of the things, I think, with yes, that originality and speaking to the world that you're creating and literally differentiating it from everything else, I think is the most important part of it. And I don't think it's necessarily about the quality of music anymore, because you've got composers like us that are making library music now. So the quality of the music and library music has gone up substantially. It's just mostly about now the utilization of it. And there's always going to be space and a place for library music. I don't think, I mean, the first instinct a lot of the time is that sometimes some other composers might shade library music and say, yeah, no, why would you use that? It's terrible and whatnot. But there really is like instances where people are still trying to figure their way through film. And, when you're still trying to learn and figure your way through film, you don't want to exhaust some of your most precious resources on your learning phase. I'll give you an example. I'm learning how to use Unreal Engine for my directing thing, and I'm teaching myself how to tell stories with 3D animation. And you get a lot of assets that are sold for use, for commercial use and whatever, but those assets are accessible to everybody, kind of like library music. And so you, as a person who doesn't know how to mold and create my own worlds and do all of that stuff, I would most likely go and buy those assets and try to put things together that way as I'm still learning, and as I try to figure my way out, as I try to create proof of concept and all of these things, so that I can save the asking of, whether it's asking of favors or reaching out to people who are really, really doing the work, save that to a time where I've kind of cemented my feet on the ground, and so it gives me that time. And so the same thing applies when you're doing projects that either you're learning or you're doing projects that really don't require you to have a composer on site, then library music comes in, so that you get what you need to get done. You've got access to good music, and you get the ball running. However, it's kind of like, if I'm really being honest about it, like, film scoring is like, it's getting to a point where it's sort of like a luxury to some extent, but a necessary luxury. If you are serious about doing your work, your film, and you want it to be what you want it to be, you can't do that without a composer. Yes, you can, but you know what I mean? Like, very few instances where you'll get it to be what you want it to be from start to finish. A whole 90 minutes full of music with library music is kind of shortchanging yourself in terms of getting to where you need it to be. So there's definitely a space. It's just my homie here was right that you're gonna miss those beats. You're gonna spend a lot of time editing music, and your music is going to appear in other people's shows as well, and so you're just going to end up cheapening your brand more than anything else. There's nothing more cheapening than hearing a song that you've heard somewhere else before, and you're like, oh, there's that song again.
I'm guilty. My very first film, that's what I did. Because for me, it was issues of budget. Because it's obviously much cheaper to use library music. I might be wrong, but that's what I think. Because you guys, your time is very valuable. It's a serious profession, and you got to get paid. You see, and so I used lots of that. Was in 2011, my very first film for TV. I just went in and I downloaded some stuff and I hoid it in there. And guess what? I started hearing that music everywhere. I was like, huh? What is that? But that's my song. And then later on, and then a voice in me said, but that's not your song. So,
It's not.
What does it take? What does it take, guys? Once upon a time, we used to have, or rather, even now, I'm sure we still do have composers that believe in that epic kind of scoring where you bring in I don't know what many violinists are called. I know it's not a swam, definitely, but a choir, maybe, if you will, of violinists, and put them in there and create this score. But now there are obviously more affordable tools, especially digital tools, which if they are in the right hands and you are in the right space, what sort of what does it take? Maybe let's start there. What does it take to set yourself up to start scoring music for film?
Those tools don't mean anything without the idea. Let's just start there. And the idea will determine what you need to do. Depending on the kind of film you're making, there is a chance that you will take 2 water bottles, a glass cup, a spoon, maybe 1 guitar and a simple drum, or not even a simple drum or whatever, to score the film, because maybe that's what the film needs. And so it's always about the idea first, and the idea will dictate the tools that you'll end up using. If we have to now be more conventional with that response, then right now there's some very good free sounds and free libraries that exist that you could actually download and start working with. And some of them are really good. I think it's just about how you use them. If you're able to maybe, some of them you can hear the fact that they're free, which is unfortunate. But if you're smart about it, you know how to run them through other effects so that they don't fully sound like a string library. You can hear it's a string library, but it's going through other things that you can say that this is part of the effect of what I'm actually going for. And then it becomes a completely different instrument. So now you don't hear the cheapness of it anymore, But to simplify the answer is to say, like, you need to at least, obviously, a decent studio, and preferably a personal studio, like your very own, because if you're using someone else's studio, you're always going to be in someone else's space. And if you're in someone else's space, you are, in my opinion, I guess with my process, you are not aligned with your spiritual alliances, and you won't have the luxury to come in whenever you want to come in and do what you need to do, because at 3 a.m. you get that idea. You now have to wait until it's time to go to that space. So it's always better to have that space readily available so that you're also comfortable to get in there with just your boxers, boxers like underwear, and do your work comfortably,
Comfortable.
you know.
You got to be comfortable.
Yes, and like coffee sometimes makes your stomach a bit like loose on the windy side, and so you need to be able to fart freely. You need to have a very serious sense of comfort to do your work. so I mean, those
Fart freely, like you gotta have those chairs, those perforated chairs.
Yes,
must not use
exactly. But it's these are the kind of like things that a lot of people don't really tell you about. They don't really get into. They just talk about the technical side of it. Okay, you just need instruments, you need whatever. But comfort and a good space and those kinds of things are so much more important, and I'm starting to realize how important they are now. Just now, having worked with them for the longest time, and I can't imagine myself starting to score a film in someone else's studio, but I'm getting too deep and philosophical about it again. But I think, most importantly, it's those things. But without the idea, it's really hard to say what you actually need. It's always, the idea will always tell you what you need. And some instances, you just need a laptop.
Yeah, absolutely. And Edward, from your side, what's your take? What do you still need more manual, stuff?
Well,
there's a guitar in the bag, so
yeah, no, like I have a few instruments and stuff lying around. Like I mean, I love organic sounds. That's why I always try to do my best to, even when it comes to layering, just kind of get one live musician or two live musicians in and layer it with whatever string plugin you use or VST that you're using. I don't think, I mean, they're getting close, but I don't think that virtual instruments will ever really replace the real thing, because I think it's that imperfections that makes it so beautiful and makes it so perfect, whereas makes it so beautiful, because I think a lot of the tools, they sound, I don't know, they sound a bit too the same. If you hit that note more than once, it's going to be the same note, unless you have like more round robins built into your VST or something like that. But I definitely agree. Like, it's about the idea. If you have the right type of idea in your head, and that's what you're going to approach, then the tools just becomes kind of like supporting to that. I always go to the piano and start off at the piano. So I mean, I have all these tools, but I'll go and sit in front of my upright piano, and I'll start composing and start imagining kind of like, oh, this little piece would sound great for a brass section, or this would sound great for, my first violins or whatever. But it all comes down to like, what are you trying to say first before, jumping in and using all these tools that you have to your disposal. But
have I lost you guys?
Like I said, wherever I can, I'll definitely try to include a little bit of a live element, even if it's just like one or two players, just to kind of seal the deal that this was played live. And I mean, I spend so much time with automation and modulation and processing and stuff to kind of get it to sound as close to live as possible. Even though some of these VSTs are so close to like actually being the real thing, I mean, it's sampled off at the actual instruments and stuff. So I think, yeah, the tools are great because they can fast track the process a lot. But yeah, it shouldn't, you shouldn't rely on that to, you know, make a great score for you, because you should be able to know, okay, cool, which parts you're writing for what and what your main idea would be. And that's just kind of an extension of that.
Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. I hear you. And I mean, you say very, very valuable things. Now, tell me, and I've heard a lot of film producers and directors, they discuss motifs, motifs in a sound, motifs in a visuals, they got motifs, what are those? Maybe for somebody out there who...
Sorry, guys.
No problem. Yeah, don't worry. Internet, hey, it's been an issue. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. How do you stop calls from coming through?
Oh yeah,
you press the red button.
Yes, that's what happened. I pressed the red button, but then my audio decided to disappear.
Yeah.
Let me actually check. Maybe
yeah, that happens. So
maybe I can do that.
Okay. What do you
I
want to
think
do?
that's gonna work. I
perfect.
switched off the mobile what network. So we'll see, because I'm on Wi-Fi, so it's all good. Should be fine.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope it works. Carry on. Sorry, I missed a lot of what you said, Ed. Sorry about that.
No, all good. So leitmotifs, or like you said, the motifs, they become quite a pinnacle role in the scoring process, where that's kind of, it's your lead character in your soundtrack. And sometimes, it's the theme for the lead character, or depending on the angle and the story. But the motif becomes very important as the backbone of your soundtrack, and to kind of like start building the rest of your soundtrack on different variations of that motif. And it's not necessarily a new style of writing. It's been around since, the classical era, even maybe before that, theme and variation, which is a classical genre. And it's kind of based off, you have this one melodic idea, and then from there on you kind of start branching it out. If you see it as a tree, that's kind of the root of your tree, and the branches and the leaves and stuff are all just like little extra pieces of music that kind of fit together to on that like main theme or motif, and it becomes kind of like a recognizable point for the audience. If you watch Pirates of the Caribbean, or the Dark Knight or whatever, when that theme comes in, okay, cool, it's this character coming, or Star Wars, the bam 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 bam, that theme, it's like, okay, cool, Darth Vader's coming, it's the Death Star. So it becomes that point of recognition for the audience to actually know, okay, cool, it's this character, or it's this part of the story that's representing itself, or this is what I'm supposed to feel for this character, and I think that's also important with leitmotifs, is to kind of, if you have a main character or a lead character that's a very emotional guy, or a softer character, but he comes over with this hard exterior, and you're not supposed to know if you like him, or if you're not supposed to like him, or if you're supposed to sympathize with him or not. And I think music there plays a massive role, because if you have a motif for this guy that's kind of, it's brinking on, playing on your heartstrings, but there's a few, kind of darker elements toward the thing, you're also unsure of, is this beautiful, or is this hauntingly beautiful? Should you kind of, should you like this guy or not? You're not really sure. But I think, it becomes that, like the poster is for your film, or your lead character is for your film, that's kind of like the motif for the soundtrack. It's just that base core idea of kind of everything you write around it.
Okay, and I'm sure Zethu is also going to come up basically with almost the same kind of description, because it's what it is through and through. I know even in visuals, it's exactly the same thing. You keep showing viewers this particular piece, so you use this particular prop or whatever it is. But maybe let's now take it to the process. What's your process when I come to you and I've got a film idea and I'd like you to assist me with scoring that film? What's the best process, rather? Because I don't want to speak from a director's perspective here, but what's the best process for you as film composers? What do you want me to just bring the film, put it on your desk, and I'm on my way, give you a space for 3 months? You want us to have a chat over a cup of coffee or a buffet if you eat too much? You want us to go to a game reserve? What's your process?
I want a private jet. I want a game reserve. I want to go to Paris. I want to go to a yacht with like lots of girls in it and lots of booze and like a lot of nice things. I want to go, snorkeling. Nah, kidding.
So that you can get into the mood,
I guess it depends on the kind of movie. I mean, if your main character is that kind of lifestyle, maybe I should get exposed to it so that I know what I'm writing about.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's like being a method actor. You kind of have to go through it to know what you're talking about and not just fantasize, I guess, But I think it starts with that conversation. There's a conversation that always has to happen with the director, obviously, more in depth than just the script, more in depth than just the shots, what you've produced and what you've done there. There's so many other things that are underneath that may or may not come through on screen, or the audience may or may not be aware of, that only the director will know. Like, he's got a peanut allergy. You don't show it, but he's got a peanut allergy. And maybe you do show it, but it's something that people have to watch the movie like 3 or 4 times to get. That every time they've offered him a peanut butter sandwich, he freaked out, but we didn't really understand why. We thought maybe he was upset from the previous experience. But the peanut allergy is a very important part of the mix. There's certain other things about the character that inform his decisions and inform everything that he does. And those are the things that we sort of try to draw from as well. They help to really get into the psychology of why, and that then sits there as the music kind of gives you a little bit of that insight to say, psychologically, there's a lot of rage in this person. They're just able to control it really well. And people don't see it. They're calm, they keep their cool, they talk calmly and whatever. But underneath, there's like a very serious brewing, like, bowl of lava, just like fucking going crazy. Excuse me, I'm allowed to say fuck? No, I'll try not to. We'll mute it out. Technology. It's like this brewing rage that's underneath, and those are the things that music is supposed to speak to, right? And so that conversation kind of needs to happen with the director to get the deeper parts of the world that are not communicated, right? And after that conversation, it then starts. Then we have to be honest. The director needs to be very honest about their process, and that will determine whether you should even be on the job or not. And that honesty is, what kind of composer are you looking for? Are you looking for somebody that's going to follow the ideas of music that you already have and want for your film? Or you want a doctor, surgeon type of composer who you will allow to prescribe what is best for your film? Those are the two really different types. And that conversation has to happen very early on. And I tend to do that, and I tend to walk away from projects where the director has a specific thing that they want, because you end up following somebody else's temp music and somebody else's music. And for me, as a spiritual composer, that's a spiritual violation on my part, on the composer that has created that temp music. I'm now creating a cheaper version or a different version of something that's already been created and that belongs to somebody else. And technically, as a director, you should go to that person there and say, I actually like this track for my film and I'd like to use this. Rather than getting another composer to do a sound alike.
Just to recreate it. Yeah.
It's just to recreate it. And that's where that honesty needs to take place. And I think I'm fortunate to be able to have that voice and to be able to communicate that and have the luxury to be able to not be afraid to walk away from a project, so that one, the film actually gets what it needs, and two, I'm not necessarily violating my spiritual protocol and policies that I have within myself to say I don't want to do that. So after that conversation will then say, okay, whether you're on the job or not. And my honest and those two processes, one is not better than the other.
Yeah.
Because sometimes as a director, you really know what you want. And that's all you want. You don't necessarily want to have something completely different for your film. You know exactly what it is that you want. And so you just need to find your place in all of that. And I am more likely to be on the other side, where I would like to propose something and say, I think this will be better for your film than what you might have, or whatever the case may be. And then we both interrogate those ideas together, and then we kind of go forward with very minimal use of temp music, very minimal use of references, just trying to really go into a place where nobody has been before and try to create from there.
I was gonna ask about the references that you just touched on, because I was getting a sense of you actually don't prefer references. So you do prefer references, just that you don't want them to sort of dominate the entire score. Is that what I'm getting?
To be quite honest, I don't prefer references at all. Me personally, I don't want to hear any reference music. Can I tell you, it's very crippling. It's very crippling, because sometimes the person will reference one of your heroes' work. And when they reference that hero's work, you may be intimidated at that point to be able to equal to or greater than that. And now you don't know whether to do something similar, or now you feel like you caught in a hard place, because now you really know what the director wants at that point. And now you creatively locked in. You can't move from that. You kind of like, and sometimes they cut around that, and it's like, this piece of music works so well with what you cut now. Where do I fit in? How do I really contribute something?
It's like when, director has a conversation with an actor, they don't necessarily go and say, okay, cool, watch this film, I want you to act like that guy. Exactly. He kind of like brings up points of like, okay, this is the background of the character, this is what the character's emotional stance is, this is what the character's belief system is. And that all kind of like comes together to create this picture of, okay, cool, this guy now knows this is the type of character I need to be to fulfill this role. And I think that's where reference music also kind of blocks the whole process, because it's like, this is what it is, so it needs to sound like that, rather than, these are kind of the emotional points, the struggle of the film, the kind of, just the general overarching narrative for the whole story. And then how can you fulfill that role within that story? And I think I also don't prefer reference music. It immediately blocks me. I'm like, okay.
I mean, I'm dealing with that kind of
I didn't know. I thought you guys prefer reference music.
No, I think there are composers that do, and that's the thing. It's like, this is why that discussion has to happen early on, so that when you move forward on those terms that you guys have agreed on in the beginning, to say, I'm this guy and this is how I'd like to contribute. And
I think the references comes in with saying like, okay, we don't want orchestral music. We want more, synth-based production for this film. That's great. That's already more than enough reference to know,
Yeah.
okay, cool, what you want to do. But if you bring in like pieces that are already pre-composed by other people, and what Zethu said about when they bring you a piece of your hero, I mean, I did a soundtrack once. They brought me an Alexander Desplat reference, and I mean, he's by far my favorite composer. And I was blocked. I mean, I couldn't really kind of move past this point of, okay, cool, it needs to sound like this guy. But, you know, he has his own voice. I have my own voice, and I don't really want to mold my voice to kind of just work and fit with, you know, whatever is preconceived for the film.
And worst of all is when they cut to that piece of music.
Yeah.
And it works so well with that piece of music. And then it's like, dude, what the fuck? What do you want me to do? Like, sorry, my bad. We're expressive. We're filmmakers. We're expressive. I think it doesn't matter. But it's like, yeah, man, it really does block you. And I think innocently they think they're helping you out. And I don't think some of the directors you've worked with haven't had the luxury of working with composers at that extent where they've had these conversations before. And so some of them still need to kind of get through that process of being told that, like, look, man,
don't put no
reference.
reference.
Like, no reference, man. Just give me let's talk from a fresh perspective. Let's not talk from that perspective, you know? And right now, funny you mentioned Alexander Desplat. That's the reference that I've been given on one of the projects I'm working on.
It's hard, bro. It's really hard.
And so you just like, okay, this is you know what.
And the thing for me usually with that type of references is, you know, let's call it 99% of every soundtrack that he does is recorded with a live orchestra, and there's budget for it, you know, and it's to kind of match that already with, you know, the type of virtual instruments that you have. It's hard to do.
It is, and so it's like, yeah, you're very much right, man. It's like, yo, put that shit away. So I think after we get past that point, I think it's unanimous that in this room, nobody likes to be the other composer. We both this composer. I think after that, for me, it's then again, I have two theories. One is that the director is creating a new world, a new universe that they are the masters of, that exists somewhere in the quantum spectrum of actual universes in real life, or they're tapping into a universe that actually exists. And again, I think it's like, for me, I then go and live there. I pack my bags and I go and I live there. And then I become every single character in the story. And then I go through every single thing that they go through. And then I become those people. I live in that world and I become those people, so that I can really draw from that point of inspiration, rather than just trying to speak generally about fear, or trying to speak generally about happiness or love or whatever the case may be. I try to get into those kinds of spaces as much as possible, and then really just pull from there, because that's the one thing that kind of helps you differentiate the same subject matter but on two separate projects. I worked on The Forgiven, which talked about apartheid and an apartheid assassin and Desmond Tutu. So there was an apartheid element that I had to kind of draw from, right? And I had to speak to. Then I worked on, what was the other one? There was a second one. There was, and then I worked on Uncovered, which also had an apartheid element to it. Now, you kind of, the subject matter is the same, but it's two separate worlds. And you kind of have to be in those two separate worlds. Otherwise, you're going to have the same sound to describe that apartheid that you kind of reference. And you kind of have to put yourself in a position where you can pull from that world and say, this is how it feels like in this world, and this is how it feels like in this world. And now I'm busy on an apartheid elements again. And it's like now I have to find a different way to communicate that same thing. And at a certain time, I think like over time of thinking about it, doing it, it starts to kind of come together. You start to solidify. If you're surgically studying the 3 different scores, you might hear them come together, and then you kind of get a sense of how Zethu perceives apartheid, even though I'm trying so hard to separate them.
Yeah,
but you eventually it comes back to the same kind of concept. So you try your level best to separate those 3 elements. And so for me, what I do, I live in those instances, and I pull inspiration from there, and I communicate. I now and then send a telegram to the director and say, hey, I'm still cool. This is what I've kind of done so far. This is what it feels like. Are we in the same world? Are we? And then he'll be like, yeah, we are, or no, we're slightly not. We're moving slowly into a different world now. Then bring me back slightly, or whatever the case may be. So, but that all obviously comes from, because again, when you hire a composer, you're actually hiring his perception of the world that you're building, or his perception of. That's what you're actually buying into, not his musical abilities. You're buying into his perception of that subject or of that world and stuff like that. So all of those things really tie in. And so me, when you approach me to compose a score for your film, you're asking me to go through that entire process. You're not just asking me to make music for you. You're asking me to go to this place, live there, change my lifestyle, and really spiritually make that full-on commitment to your story for the next however many months, and then come back and try to reintegrate into society again after that, after being an apartheid assassin for the past 3 months, and try not to hurt anybody. See what I'm saying? So that's, I think, what you're asking for me, and that's mostly my process. I guess I can't necessarily speak, but yeah, that's my process.
No, I totally agree. I think it's important to kind of get into the mindset of the characters and to kind of live in that world. In terms of, I like to kind of just go on YouTube and actually watch, say, working on a period piece or something like that. Like to kind of not necessarily watch documentaries and stuff, but I would find clips of how the world was, how the environment, how footage looked like shot in the 60s or shot in the 50s or something like that. And you're really kind of starting to place yourself within that, time frame and the environment of where it all happened. And I mean, even, technically on period pieces, you do end up listening to references, but not in terms of this will work, but just in terms of this was the style of music and stuff that it took place in. Weirdly that you brought up Forgiven, we actually facilitated the film when I was still at Post City. And beautiful score, man. Like I really loved the film, and it's Roland Joffe, I think was the director.
Roland Joffe.
I had a few conversations with him as well, because he worked on The Missionary with Ennio Morricone, and hearing stories about Ennio Morricone out of like a guy's mouth that actually worked with him was incredible. Ennio Morricone is also, one of my favorite all-time composers, and it's really awesome film.
So you guys also do what directors do, because we also go check out some other directors' films as well. Want to see how he tells that story
all the time.
Because you gotta learn like that. You discover something. Yeah. That's dope, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I always, because 1, 2, 3 people here. Me and 2 of you guys, this conversation could last the whole night.
No, but we still got half an hour, fam. We still got a half an hour. We're going till the end. And if you take another half an hour after that, we carry on.
You actually check that. No, this has to go up.
Yes, I'm aware. So we have to take that full 30 minutes. We're taking that full 30 minutes.
No, we definitely will take it. I want to tell you what was motivating me to cut us short. My internet keeps dropping me off. I don't know whether you noticed.
Yes, I did notice.
You froze there for a little bit.
Yeah. I don't want to end up just off completely and leave these 2 guys alone, because it's going to be weird. Okay, what do we talk about? But I noticed you picked it up because when I came back on, the session felt like it was not interrupted. Someone else was talking and the session was going. And I was like, oh, okay. No, certainly. No, we can talk this all night, gentlemen. Now, what I want to know from both of you is, if music is so important in a film, in a film or in a story, why then do you think motivates directors to start repeating themselves and giving you these references? Because we don't use the same set, for example. We usually would go like, yeah, I saw somebody shot in this little corner here in town. I'm not going to shoot there. I'm going to shoot somewhere else. Why do you think directors then get to this comfort zone of beginning to sort of dictate to you what you need to do?
I've got a theory on that.
Yeah.
My theory is you might find that a lot of directors actually hate the music process. They hate that they need music, and mainly because they have no control over it.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's easy. Like with maybe like a shot, for example, when they compose a shot, they know they're able to compose and create that shot from start to finish and say, okay, I want it from this angle. I want more silhouetted and shallow depth of field, but at the background, I want a little bit of fire to do this and whatnot. They have full control on the image. But with music, if they're unable to make music, they're at the mercy of the person making the music, and they don't know what they're going to get. And so it's like they hate the fact that they need music. And so they just try to find a space of comfort and a space of like where they can have as much control as possible. And that's why they can go to reference music, because that kind of gives them some kind of control.
Sorry, we lost.
Not again.
Ah, yeah,
Hello?
here now. We are here. We see.
So you guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can see.
You.
Okay, I can't hear you. So, but I'm gonna carry on talking, and then I'll figure myself out afterwards, so I don't lose my train of thought. Okay. I think that's particularly the reason, is that when you're unable to do something, you lean towards something that's already been done, because that's the only way you're able to communicate your ideas. That's the only way you're able to say exactly what it is that you might want, and it gives you some kind of something to hold on to. When you engage a composer, you never know what you're going to get, because everything that they create is always going to be new and unique, I guess, and you just don't know what it's going to sound like. And so I think that's probably why, and I think it's more an act of fear than it is an act of intentional malice. I don't think it's necessarily them being necessarily messed up towards us or whatever. I think it's just they're afraid, and they just want to make sure that what they get it goes with their world. And that's why a lot of the time, once you've created some kind of suite, once you've created some kind of sketch to the themes and stuff like that, they then start to breathe easy. They're like, okay, yes, this is in line with what I'm doing. Okay, cool. So I can give him the space to kind of do what he needs to do, but I'll be, in the peripheral part of the whole thing, just to make sure that everything's full. But like, they breathe. And sometimes you're fortunate to get the directors that are like, I've seen your work. I love your shit. Here's the movie. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going away on holiday. You do whatever you need to do, which is the best ever for us. If that was ever to happen. It's happened to me, I think twice. It's happened to me twice. And the one film was uncovered. Zugo not that. He just like, hey, bro, I'm not spotting session for what? You do what you need to do. You take the movie, own it, and do whatever the hell you want to do with it. And that's exactly what I did. I can't hear you. Let me see if there's something I can do here.
Man, sorry. Yeah, try something. Carry on. So I was saying, I have been trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not getting it, right? I have been trying to make it happen.
Make what happen?
Can you explain to him? Okay, so remember when you started the conversation, you said that it has not happened to you before, and then you said it has happened twice to you.
Yes.
And then I come now and say, I have been trying to make it happen. As in, like I've been, you and I, we met. I think we met in Germany like 2013, my man. 2013.
Yes. No,
Not
2014.
2014. Like, how many years has it been? Like, and we've never done anything together. Okay,
We haven't done it,
and we're like, but I keep trying. I keep trying. Like, I'm always like this. I'm like, hey man, can you? And then you go like, hey, yeah, no, Mr. B, which I respect. I respect. Maybe that's something that we can also just talk about, because I really respect a creative person who, when they are swamped with work, when they have a lot going on, they don't just keep taking in more because they want a bigger balance. They get to a point where they realize that no, now I'm gonna compromise that person, or I'm gonna compromise myself with the current person. So let me rather tell them that, look, I don't have a slot right now for you. I'm currently, involved in something else. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to say salute. Don't feel bad that you haven't given Mr. B a chance to work with you. Feel good about it.
Yeah. I think the time will come. It will. I think it will, because as of late, it's just been getting worse and worse. But it will definitely come. It will present itself as it.
Certainly. Everything in perfect timing. So, thanks, guys. What else is happening in your lives right now, like besides music? Yeah, you got a very whistling sound. I think you got feedback. I can tell you.
I'm now forced to listen on my laptop because I'm not getting any sound here for whatever reason. I thought I'd stop phone calls from coming in, and then somebody called me via WhatsApp. So that kind of didn't work.
We're really grateful for WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and listen here.
Okay. You know what now I want? What now I just need us to do is just to give maybe the closing remarks in terms of film music score. How important it is to you and your role in the entire process. I know we usually talk about bringing up the emotions part of it, because you have a film, and when a film doesn't have music, for me, it's incomplete. Even if you've shot it, all your scenes, but if you haven't scored it, certainly is incomplete. And if you put it out there,
it feels long. Like, that's the one thing I must say, which is a weird, like, little side comment. But watching a film without music, it feels like you're sitting the whole day watching this one film. Whereas, like, with music, it's poof, gone. It's over now.
I always try on that. In the festival, I don't know if you watched it, the pre-reel that I just put now. I asked Edward for some music. Before I put the music, we've got like a like 2 to 3 minutes long of sponsors. So we've got like sponsors, because you try and agree with sponsors that, look, I'm going to give you some airtime in my collaterals, in my trailer, in cinemas. We're going to put you in the pre-reel, and you agree with them that I'm going to put you for 5 seconds and 10 seconds. And before you know it, you've got like 2 minutes and 3 minutes a slot to fill in. So I had put it, and I was watching these sponsor logos go past, and this is feeling so long, until I took your music and I put it in there. And because the music comes and starts changing the way things feel like, the question and answer session that you get from a musical tune. So yeah, it does feel long, actually. So any closing remarks, gentlemen? Let's wrap this up, starting off with Zethu.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Okay. You
there we go. Feedback.
We hear you. Yeah.
You hear the feedback?
Yeah.
We can hear you now. There is some feedback, but we can hear you.
Okay, wait. Let me mute this side. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear you, but I think you should start, homie, because I've been trying to figure out how to fix this thing. You go first, Eddie.
Okay. Well, closing remarks for film scoring. I don't know. I think it's a very vital part of the film. I always see it as like a rugby match. You know, the director comes. You know, he's the team captain, but the team captain doesn't always score all the tries. And I think in a lot of that, you know, film scoring is just is like a winger. You know, sometimes you score a try, but you're definitely helping to win the match. You know, and yeah, I don't know. I love the process. I think there's so much more to still be done within film scoring. You know, stuff has changed so much over the last, I don't know, like 30 years in terms of what is accepted for film scoring. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the journey ahead and looking forward to doing many more movies. And yeah, I mean, I love music. I don't know really know what else and much more to say about it. But yeah, thank you for including me in this panel discussion. And yeah, no, it's
Anytime,
yeah.
anytime. Anytime, buddy. Thank you so much, and thanks, guys, for your support to this festival. Truly appreciate you for that. Thanks for the music. Thanks for your time, Zethu. Thank you for being there. I mean, like Zethu dominated the festival last year because he gave us just loads of music like this, and
Nice.
I so believe that when that happens, we have to make sure that we put up that credit. So we had this beautiful picture. I think everybody was like waiting for that picture to come, and he's like behind the wall or something, and he's going like he's got this look, you know, and the music in the back there. So truly appreciate. So Zethu, you can give us your final remarks, my man. Truly appreciate you. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. I think more than anything, I think it's we're sort of. I mean, there've been people who've been doing film scoring in South Africa for some time now, and really access to people and an audience of some sort, and actually having people get to know the kind of work that we do has only been possible in the last few years. And I think everybody else has been working isolated, so they haven't really had many opportunities to get people to understand what it is that we do. And actually, for most South Africans who don't even know that this thing is a career and stuff, so it kind of, in a weird way, it puts us in the forefront of the whole thing, and it makes us the people who are kind of like taking this thing forward and pioneering the entire industry. And there's so many people that are now coming up that are kind of learning about the film scoring process from us. Even some directors that have been there for some time, they still kind of figuring out and navigating this whole thing. And I think it's important for us to continue to have these discussions and for people to continue learning about how to engage with a composer, what to ask for, and how to work with a composer so that they get the most out of what they're trying to do and what they want. And so, as much as we are learning as well in terms of trying to better our work and better our craft, directors also kind of need to be assisted in how to listen to music and how to communicate with composers in telling them what you want. Again, I think of making a movie as like building a house. You get your architect in, you trust them with the process of designing a house that you may want. You come in and you make a few changes here and there, but you let them do their work. And then after the architect has done his work, you let the electrician come in and you let them prescribe. Then you let the interior decor come in and you let them prescribe what might work for a thing. You give them some kind of idea of what you'd like, but you allow them to help you get to that. The how of it is important, that it comes from the person that you're trusting with that process. So if you want a film that's gritty, that's like very, very dark, you communicate the darkness that you'd like, and then you allow him to tell you how to get to that darkness and what to look out for, the pitfalls and so on and so forth. And I think that's an ongoing process that we'll continue to do, and we have to continue doing. But I think more than anything else, it's just about really solidifying the insight into our world and space, and in terms of how it also works. I didn't realize that, obviously, when I was communicating with a particular channel and explaining to them that this is what you ask from us, this is what you give us, and it's not right. You need to change your way so that, the working relationship is fine and it's not toxic. Initially, I was doing it for myself, but I found that at the end of the day, I ended up doing it for everybody else. Because now when other composers engage with that same channel, they engage knowing that with this amount of money that we give, we can only get a license. And if we want to get to own the music, we have to pay this much. And so me winning that battle kind of opened up the industry for other composers to have that kind of benefit. And I think that's another fight that I'm continuing to do, because I'm engaging with Channel B now with regards to the same subject matter. And I'm hoping that I'd be able to open that world up as well. But I'm doing it from a place of not necessarily from an anger place, but from a place of everybody's still trying to figure this out and everybody's still trying to learn. And everybody's needs to get more and more insight about how this world works. And they need to be able to navigate this world. And that's up to us to be able to communicate that. And I think having those conversations is very important. And this platform is also very important, that we're able to actually give people a glimpse of what we do and what it's like to get to a place where you actually want your film to be. So thanks again for inviting me, and thanks for allowing me to cause a little bit of havoc on this platform. It's always fun. Yeah, man. And we continue and soldier on and creating the best films that we can.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Truly appreciate your time. And we are continuing this site. If you want to catch what is happening else, it's, the festival has got a Facebook page. We are broadcasting these events. You can go back to it anytime. Thank you. I salute you, gentlemen. I love your work. I'm one of your greatest fans. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Master.
Essa vitória